this week with a 3-0 week. They really needed it. They were down 6-0. We're now at the halfway point. So 3-6. Are you convinced?
Look, I think last week we talked about this. This is a Flyquest team that was, as you mentioned, 0-6. We knew that they were better than the 0-6 record. We talked about it ad nauseum. We thought that the Flyquest was going to come back this week and have, we didn't think they were going to be 0-9. And so, to me, this was where they should have been. Or actually, it's still far below where they should have been. But, it's nice to see a sign of life. Now, I did predict incorrectly in our group. I was fade Flyquest on the third day, going up against Immortals. It felt like an easy trap game for them. So to me, and this is going to maybe sound a bit funny or weird, but to me, the best win for Flyquest this weekend was that showing up and beating Immortals on a third day when they could have easily, because they had two bigger matches earlier in the week, for them to kind of still have that resolve, be focused, and come back and get that win. I was really impressed by them for that win, which it sounds weird saying beating the worst placed team is an impressive win, but to me it's all about mental ability to stay in the moment and make sure that they don't lose to those teams like they had been earlier.
Yeah, okay, I get that, and I think it's the consistency there. To me, really the win over TL was obviously the one that was good, because I'll jump into TL in a second, but they're the team that was sitting in top 4, top 3 at one point, and so they were looking a little bit better. And then following that up with an NRG win, again, another interesting team that's sitting in the middle of the pack there. That just made me go, okay, you know what? It seems that they're figuring stuff out, and they've been pretty candid about that. I think Speaker had an interview where he just said we were making each other worse, which, very clearly. Rekkles still seems like a massive liability, and I don't know how they're going to solve that. I'm not fully on the Flyquest train, but I don't think they can be discounted the way they were at the start of the split. So 3 wins, 3-0, 2 of them over middling teams that they definitely need to beat if they're going to start climbing back up the rankings. Cautiously optimistic. I'm just going to jump into Team Liquid.
Let's do it.
5-4. They've dropped down now to tied to 4th place with Dignitas. Next team I definitely want to talk about.
Cannot wait.
I'm actually a bit concerned about Liquid. They're not looking that great. They've lost to Golden Guardians, Flyquest, and EG.
But then weirdly go ahead and beat Cloud9, which,
who just had the most dominating win over EG. It
was so funny, right? They were talking about how the matchup for first place, and then it was over in 5 seconds. The amount of kills that Cloud9 had in that game. Honestly, I felt bad watching EG that game.
It was 26-3, and it was
right.
This
and the
is
3 were lucky.
Obscene.
It was a very dominating one-sided victory there. Team Liquid, this is a team that is a complete enigma to me. For them to go and beat a Cloud9, really impressive. For them to go and then lose to a Flyquest, to lose to a Dignitas. I mean, look, I think Dignitas is good. To me, that they are a middling team right now. They're beating the 100 Thieves. They're beating the the lower ranked teams, the TSMs, but then they're not beating the Golden Guardians.
Sure, and I think middling is fair, but I thought the talent on the team, you would think, okay, they are a top 4 team. I'm now thinking they're a 5th, 6th place team, and we touched on Dig. I think Dig has been one of the best things of this split. I am so excited about Dig, and we actually talked about this, I can't remember if it was LEC or LCS episode previously, about how these lower kind of bad teams can get us really excited because they can make things interesting. And that's the great thing about the LEC format. And Dig was a team I was excited about prior to them picking up Armored, and Rich has just been amazing. He's played so many different champs.
He's been a revelation.
The way he's building items, his Alawi game, what he's drafting, it's really fun to watch him play. And he's really kind of, I think, fixed this Dig team, who is now tied for 4th place. I think they're better than TL.
Well,
and I think they are legitimately, they're this I don't want to say dark horse in terms of are they going to win it all? No. But can they upset EG or Golden Guardians? I think so. I think they're a team that is undervalued right now. And as we come into the playoffs, I'm keeping an eye on them.
I mean, if you look back at Wednesday's matches, there was a bunch of kind of odd performances that day, right? NRG beats Golden Guardians. You wouldn't expect that. 100 Thieves beats the Dignitas that we're talking about. Not really sure. I definitely don't expect that either. FlyQuest beating Liquid. And so really the only two teams that took care of business was Cloud9 and EG. Now, to me, we've talked about this last week where you have like these bunches of 3 teams. You got Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, and I think right now still unquestionably Golden Guardians. I would put those 3 as that top.
Agreed, 100%.
What's so fun about this split and why we're weirdly excited about the LCS right now, that second 3 teams, that Dignitas, Team Liquid, and then honestly, like now you're talking about who fits in.
I'd actually make it 4.
But let's have more fun and leave it as 3, because if you make it 4, I think you make it too easy. Now there's just a bottom 3 and we know who they are. But like this is where I was going is like 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, who's gonna make it into that second tier of 3? I did that.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of FlyQuest. So actually, I was saying it's like Dig, TL, 100 Thieves, and NRG. They're this middle of the pack.
Well,
where,
they're not.
Because if I said to you, hey, NRG is a 5th place team, I think you're like, yeah, that makes sense. 100 Thieves, 5th place team, makes sense. Dig, 5th place team, makes sense. TL, you'd think it's 4th place, but like actually they've dropped down now. And I completely forgot about FlyQuest, to be honest with you.
FlyQuest is now already jumping their place right there onto that cusp.
They're right behind them. They're not
4 and 5, 3 and 6, but they're the same record as NRG and TSM though. And so
that's true.
So right
now
you kind of have this really fun second 3, right? Because the
playoffs,
there's the bye and then there's like the first round or whatever. But like that second kind of group of Dignitas, Team Liquid, and then who has this really fun.
That?
Like, there's now a lot of competition for this, and if you start to see FlyQuest with the talent that they have, just haven't performed, like all of a sudden, that's a really fun grouping. And then we have all the fun that is vying for Immortals is dead last at the moment, which they're dead last, but they're only 1 game off of FlyQuest, NRG, and TSM. So
and NRG is weird too.
Super weird.
Like I kind of want to shout them out because they're 3 and 6 teams. So bad team for sure. Except for
there's a lot of 3 and 6 teams.
the 2 out of those 3 wins are over
our top 3 teams, GG and Cloud9. And then their third win is against 100 Thieves, which we were just saying is right on that cusp. It's not like it's Immortals or TSM.
So it's like it's quality over quantity. I think they haven't realized that you need quantity to get into the playoffs.
Unfortunately, the quality of the wins doesn't matter. You still need the quantity. Like the quality does matter, but the quantity also really matters. It really does.
I agree with you. TSM, they're kind of sitting there.
I do think I am concerned about this TSM team. This is now 4 losses in a row for them, and they are now heading in the wrong direction. They were a team sitting at 3 and 1, and now they are 3 and 6.
Well, they brought Ruby on. They had Insanity. He was looking good. And then they decided, like, we'll give Ruby a chance. And
I don't know why.
He has not looked good.
Correct. The 2 games that TSM have most recently won, which was last Thursday and last Wednesday, I guess like 2 weeks ago, were against NRG and Immortals. Of their 3 wins, like, not a lot of quality wins. And especially not recently, right? They've been having to play good teams, and, like, this is a team where they beat FlyQuest, which, back when they were terrible, and NRG and Immortals. Like, sorry, like, you're basically losing to everybody right now, and so maybe the reason that they did do the swap, even though like maybe the reason they got rid of Insanity is because like they knew that they weren't beating the best teams that they needed to, and we're seeing some errors there. But
I mean, they're not beating the best teams regardless. But all I can say is that with Ruby, it's been 0-4.
Look, I think that I think we kind of alluded to it. The league right now is more fun than it's been in a while, and I think it's because of you're having a lot of teams that are competitive against each other, and there's no like clear-cut favorites. Like even Cloud9, right? Like they had lost to.
Well, they're definitely
clear-cut favorites.
They're without a doubt. Like they dumpstered EG.
I know. But like to be fair, right? Like I think you could still see Golden Guardians come back and make a bit of a push. They lost to Cloud9 as well, but
they got 3-0'd. I'm finding it very hard to see anyone not get 3-0'd by Cloud9 at the end there. But let's set that aside. I'm excited to see who's gonna get second place.
I agree.
Like that's really gonna be the fun of it. Who's gonna be first to lose, as they like to say. Talking about who's going to be first to lose, let's talk about the matches. And it actually kicks off with NRG against Liquid. And as I just said, Liquid has lost to Golden Guardians, FlyQuest, and EG. I think NRG can absolutely upset them. I have NRG at a 2.63. They've just had a win over Golden Guardians and Cloud9. So it looks like NRG is on an upward trajectory, beating good teams. TL is on a downward trajectory. I think just the value is 100%.
And Liquid already beat NRG, and we both know how hard it is to sometimes beat the same team twice. Now we like to, that mostly applies to when you're playing in one sitting, right? So when you have a best of 5, a best of 3, a best of whatever. I love the value here. I think you're completely spot on with 2.63. You have to just go for the value in this play.
What have you got?
The match that I think that I'm really excited about, I mean, again, in a similar way, it's like you can get 100 Thieves at 2.53. Now, like, I know that we just saw Flyquest team go 3-0. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to fully believe the comeback. And when you can get 2.53, like, we've seen Flyquest give up a lot of losses. To me, the value is there. I have a hard time believing it.
So you see, that's interesting because I actually didn't pick that one. But I'm with you.
It's like, show me one more time. Show me one more time.
You're such a 100 Thieves hater. I'm so
true.
surprised that that's the match against Flyquest you would pick.
I used to be 100 Thieves fanboy for the League team. I've always hated the Call of Duty team.
Yeah, you have. That's true. So I'm going to jump ahead kind of to day 2 or 3.
Interesting.
I have, for the exact same reasons, I have Dignitas over Flyquest. Because I think if Dig gets a good draft, they have a real shot. They're showing they're playing well. And I'm not fully on the Flyquest train. The problem is I've seen it from Dig where I'm like, oh, I'm impressed by you. I haven't seen it from 100 Thieves yet, so I'm more cautious about that.
What you're hinting at and what I would like to double click on is just like,
sure,
Flyquest is being treated like they're Cloud9. And I don't understand why they are being treated with that kind of value. I mean, right now, Flyquest is also... or Golden Guardians is the underdog against Flyquest when they play. You can get them at a 1.93. Like, there's no world right now that I'm a part of where Golden Guardians should be an underdog to Flyquest.
The only person Golden Guardians should be an underdog to is Cloud9.
Correct.
Even against EG, I would say they're on par.
I'm gonna lose my mind over Flyquest beating Immortals and NRG. Like, the TL, good win, but as we already have discussed on this beloved podcast, like, I don't know, TL isn't really looking like their strong selves as of late.
Flyquest had a very nice and easy week to go 3-0 to start setting themselves up.
They needed that week. But now they have a little bit of breathing room. I just... Do I see Flyquest going 0-3 this week? No. Do I see Flyquest going 1-2? Very maybe. And so why wouldn't I hit...
2-1 is also not bad.
Why would I not click 100 Thieves at 2.5? Why would I not click... Golden Guardians at 1.94, and why would I not click Dignitas at 2.76?
I like the Dig money line over EG.
You were going right to where I was going to go, which is for everything we just said about teams going against Flyquest, I feel even more strong about Dignitas as a team that is underrated and undervalued. They have a tough week, like they do. EG, Cloud9, and Flyquest, like that is a tough week. Do I see them going 0-3 this week? No, I don't. And so 2.71, 4.03, and then 2.76. Flyquest is being treated like they are better than EG. And I'm sorry, I know that EG got stomped by Cloud9, but they're still the second best team. Like, let's put some respect on their fucking name. And so, these values for Dignitas across the board, like, I'm just going to put a sprinkle on every single game that Dig is playing, because I'm not going to want to get in a situation where I'm trying to cherry pick wins, because that's when you lose.
That is all I have for day 1, but you actually touched on this. Like, on day 2, we have EG against 100 Thieves. I actually like I've got 1.57 on EG.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine. I like a 57%
the
return.
Second best team against the 6th best team, I'll take a 57%.
It's a nice value bet. I feel the same way about Golden Guardians over Flyquest, which I know we've already talked about, but like,
especially with the draft, a good draft for Golden Guardians.
1.93, like, I just think that that's too obvious.
I'm really going to look at the draft there, actually, to be fair. I am going to, and Flyquest sometimes drafts really dumb. If they get a really good draft, I'll bet on them, but this is a great match where there's a lot of parity. But there's so much value on Golden Guardians.
It might be worthwhile for a minute betting on the draft. Not everyone knows the game as well as you do. Like, what are things that you look for in the draft when these teams are playing, or like what are matchups that you like to identify that people are going up against? Like,
I mean, it's like champs. It's like you look at champs. How good are the champs? How good's the win rate? How cohesive is the team? So there's things like Annie and Nico are super strong right now in the LPL and the LCK. They are an absolute fucking bait in the LEC. They're like 2-8. It's obscene. The LEC mids are so bad at Annie and Nico, and everyone is like, oh my god, they're great. And it's like, yeah, the champs are great, but they can't play them. So LEC is happening as we're recording this. Koi just played against Astralis. Koi had a really good draft. So they have Renekton top, Vi mid, Vi jungle, Nico mid, Sivir, and Lulu. It's a cohesive, W go forward team comp. You have Renekton, who wants to dash in. You have a Vi whose ultimate drags her in. You have a Nico whose ultimate is a close range ultimate and wants to get close to be able to kill someone. Sivir, whose ultimate speeds everyone up, which makes it easier for them to get into the other team. And a Lulu that provides health to someone that goes in deep. You can just see how that whole comp is going forwards. They're charging at you. That's a really good team that works well together. I actually don't think Astralis' draft was bad either. They have Cassante in the top lane. They have Viego as the jungler. They have Azir in mid lane. They have Aphelios, AD carry, and Nautilus in the bot lane. Reason this is good is you have Nautilus, who provides good kind of stuns, peels, hooks, engage for Aphelios. There's a Cassante and Viego are good at blowing someone up, and that's crucial for someone like Viego because he wants to chain kill. So he wants to kill someone, to take their body, and continue chaining it. And Azir has good range, so he can partner with Aphelios. They push back, so good disengage. It's just quite a solid team comp. It's one we predicted because we saw how Excel did well last week, and I was like, listen, Maokai or tank plus Azir is now going to be all over because teams have seen how like a bad team has done well with it, and we've seen Azir shoot up. So that's kind of things. It's like, how cohesive is the team plan? How well are they? How strong are the champs? How well have they historically been performing? Those are things you're trying to kind of pay attention to.
Cool. I just, for the people, because when you hear about the waiting for the draft, sometimes people don't.
I am a man of the people.
Not everyone knows what to be looking for in a draft, so try and help them out in their picks. The one that I'm surprised to not hear you say,
which one is that?
Is Liquid versus 100 Thieves. You can get Liquid right now at 1.90. Basically dead even with 100 Thieves. And as much as we were talking earlier about TL not playing as well, I still believe that this is a TL team that is significantly better than this 100 Thieves team. This is a 100 Thieves team that also hasn't been like blowing the socks off. Like, this is not something I know that they're like right there middle of the pack, but this is a 100 Thieves team that typically beats lesser opponents. TSM, Immortals, Flyquest at the time. Dignitas might be their best win, honestly, so far. Versus a team, in this 100 Thieves where they lose to all the better teams, right? They've lost to Energy, they've lost to Team Liquid, they've lost to EG 100.
With a sub, though.
With a sub.
So I'm kind of, the reason, I actually agree, I think the value here is great, so I would just watch the draft and I'm going to base it off of that. But I just think that we need to kind of see how does this quick guy do in week 2. Week 1 jitters, totally reasonable. But how's he doing in week 2?
Going up against a team that's as storied and has as much talent in this Team Liquid, I just think it's...
But that hasn't been performing.
It hasn't been performing. Completely true.
So,
but sometimes these are the kind of matches that help get a team on track.
That's right. Anyway, what will help us get on track is you liking and subscribing if you're enjoying things. We hope you have. Last week, I think we did pretty well with our predictions. LEC episode will be coming out in 2 days, so keep an eye out for that. And let us know, as always, in the comments whether you agree or disagree. And there is a link to our Discord down below, so check that out. Wraps it up from us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great day.
Talk to you in Discord. Toodaloo.